Hi, my name is Steve McCurdy from Leviton Manufacturing, and today we're going to show you how to install a dimmer. Now, as with any electrical project that you take on, you really need to make sure that the electricity is disconnected from the area that you're working in. Safety is critical here. First, we're going to remove the existing switch and identify the conductors that are inside the box. Next, we're going to take our new dimmer, wire it up according to the manufacturer's instructions, and then we're going to test it. And then finally we'll close up with installing a three-way dimmer. Now the items we're going to need for this install are a screwdriver, both a Phillips and a straight blade. You'll need a pair of pliers, a pair of wire cutters, in some cases it's the same item. You'll need a wire stripper. You'll need a voltage tester in order to make sure that the box is safe and de-energized. And in some cases you'll need some wire nuts or some electrician's tape, depending on the conditions of the wires that are in the existing box. A little bit about myself: I have 30 years experience in home technologies and lighting as a former electrical contractor. And Leviton as a company is over 100 years old, providing these type of products and solutions to the industry. Now let's get started installing your dimmer. Now, one of the most important things in selecting the proper dimmer for your application is to double check the type of lighting fixtures you're going to be controlling and also the wattage that those fixtures include. For example, this is an incandescent lighting fixture. In that case, there are 3 40-watt bulbs that are in there. Now, the dimmer you select should be sized for that application. Most products in the market today, like this one, have all of that information on the packaging. It'll tell you the voltage that it's used on, the maximum wattage that it's been used on, and whether it's appropriate for a single pole or a three-way application or both. So double check those before you start your project. Now, once you verify that you have the right dimmer, let's take a look at the basic parts that make up this dimmer. Now in this case, this is a Leviton Visia Plus dimmer, and it does come in multiple colors in the package, so it makes it convenient for any decor. This is what's called a back and side wired dimmer. Therefore, there's no conductors that are on this dimmer. You'll just simply be attaching this to the wires that are in the junction box. Now, a dimmer like this is what's called a Decora styling, and you have a line connection and a load connection. Now, you'll notice that on the side of the dimmer here, there's 2 other terminations. One is for the ever-important ground for safety reasons, but secondly is where this tape is, this particular dimmer is also suitable for three-way applications. So in our application here right now, we're only using it as a single pole application, so we won't require this terminal, so we'll leave that tape right on it. Now there's another part of the dimmer here which surrounds it. It's called a heat sink. Now in multi-gang applications where you have 2 or more dimmers in a junction box, this heat sink requires you to derate the dimmer appropriately. Now make sure you refer to the manufacturer's instructions for how that derating works. Now that's the basics for a dimmer and how to select the proper one for your job. Now let's get started and install this dimmer in the wall. Now the first thing we're going to do is remove the wall plate and then remove the existing switch that's in the wall. I want to take, in this case, a flathead screwdriver and back off the screws on the existing wall plate. Now some plates are captive with the screws. This one, we're removing them completely. So make sure you put them in a safe place so you don't lose them later. Now once I remove the plate, I'm going to test the existing switch to make sure that the power has been de-energized. I have a simple voltage tester we're going to do that with. Touch one at ground and then just touch the terminals in here. This confirms, since there's no indicator light, that the power has been killed to this switch. Now I'm going to remove the switch. Now sometimes it helps if you have an electric screwdriver, but in this case I'm using just a regular Phillips head screwdriver to remove these screws. I'm going to gently pull the switch out. You'll notice that there's 3 wires on this switch. One has power, one goes to the load, and one is for ground. So these also are connected at the back of the switch with spring-loaded terminals. So I'm going to use a small screwdriver in order to dislodge the conductors from this switch. You just simply insert it. Now I'm going to remove the ground wire that's connected to this. You can always tell the ground connection by the green terminal that's on a switch or a dimmer. That's how we remove the existing switch. And next, we're going to install the new dimmer. Now, I've removed the existing switch, and I've actually turned the breaker back on to verify which is the hot leg and which is the load. So I double check, and I've determined that this is my hot conductor. Now I'm going to go back, I'm going to shut off the breaker and install my new dimmer. Now on the new dimmer, there are a couple of terminals here we discussed earlier. There's a black terminal, which is for the power, and there's a red terminal for the load. There's also a green terminal for the ground. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to install the ground terminal. And to do that, I'm going to take my ground conductor. Now it had a loop in it before because it was wrapped around the screw of the old switch. I'm just going to straighten that out with my pliers so that I can insert it cleanly and neatly in the back of the dimmer. Now in these Leviton dimmers, there are slots that accept the conductors and make it very easy and quickly for an install. Next, I'm going to install the load wire, which is this conductor, and I verified earlier. Now finally, the power conductor, which is the black terminal, and the power conductor. Now before I put the dimmer back in the wall, I want to make sure that it's in the proper upright position. So in this case, we do have it in the upright position. I'm going to gently put the conductors back in the box and then screw the dimmer into the wall. Next, I'll screw the terminals back into the junction box. Now I've turned the circuit breaker rack on, and now we're going to test our dimmer. And we have dimming. Now all we have to do is install the wall plate, and we're done.